We are now heading across the Kaimais to meet up with Pepa from Bohemian Arts. Pepa is an internationally recognised artist that, since living in New Zealand, has turned his hand to kirituhi. Kirituhi is a substyle of tamoko that has received little exposure in the press, but has mana of its own. Kirituhi is a design telling the unique story of the creator in the visual language of Māori art created by a non-Māori artist. Can you tell us a brief overview of your career?
I started tattooing in 1996 in the Czech Republic. That's where I'm from. And I went under apprenticeship under Scott Ellis. He was an American tattoo artist running a tattoo studio in Prague. And after about 2 months, we opened our little studio in my hometown called Liberec. And 4 years later, I set my trip to New Zealand for about 3 months or 6 months, as a bit of backpacking and a little bit of tattooing as well.
So you do kirituhi style tattooing. And what is the difference between that and tamoko?
Well, kirituhi is a direct translation from Māori language, is marking of the skin. And basically it is a contemporary Maori tattoo. It is, I think this platform was created because it needed to be separated from the tamoko, which is quite sacred and has its place in history and culture. And it's very restricted in a way who gets the tamoko or who does the tamoko. So it's supposed to be the tohunga, someone who is a specialist, and on the receiving part it should be someone who is must be a Maori, but also there is like a family consent and general kind of acceptance of the tattoo. So that's something that we are completely outside of. And kirituhi, for me personally, it is a celebration of the art, and it's like a place where we can enhance and make it great and the best.
So what made you get into the kirituhi style?
It all started when I got to New Zealand, and I tattooed in Rotorua for about 2 years. And Rotorua is a place with large Maori population, so naturally I was getting a lot of Maori work. And I remember this young guy, Vata, he was culturally really aware, and he was a teacher of Maori language and also a choreographer for kapahaka. And he used to bring a lot of his relatives and his friends to me. So he would draw with a ballpoint pen on them and just bring them here, like to my shop. And I would do the tattoo. So I think that was my first initial kind of introduction to tamoko, and we could talk what is the difference and so on. And then after that, once I had my portfolio with Maori tattoos, a lot of other people, they wanted to do the same. So I took it from there, and I always try to develop my own flavor or put my own spice into it.
So what inspires the design process for you?
Mostly it's inspired by the client himself, because everything happens as the client talks to me and explains what they want. So yeah, this is pretty much my biggest inspiration. Sometimes I would fuse together realistic and kirituhi, so we would have a portrait surrounded by the background of kirituhi.
It's quite a long process for a client to come in and have the consultation and put all their trust.
Yeah, sometimes I even wonder, that they have a lot of trust because they have to cross the part where they don't see what they're heading for. Unfortunately, I can't really do a drawing for everyone, and I think even I wouldn't be able to do the drawing as well as on the skin, because I can see the proportions and it just comes out like so much more natural. So the tattoo is drawn by markers, first on the skin, and the client can see just a lot of scribble. And yeah, that's usually when I look at it myself, I think my 7-year-old can draw better. But it's just for my information how big it is and what kind of a flow it gets. And they see it and just go, okay, yeah, that's fine, because they have probably no other choice. Yeah. And then it would be wiped off and then drawn with a more accurate pen, so they can see a little bit better how it goes and flows. And after that, it's just being executed, and all the rest, like shading and filling in, it just comes as it goes.
Now, is there any specific protocols that you have to stick to for the kirituhi?
There is nothing specific. Kirituhi is compared to tā moko is actually free. In what you create, it can be fused with other forms of art, and the only thing that I need to stick to, and I think it's just a common sense, is like not to retell anyone else's story and not to copy anything. So I try not to actively look at anyone's work.
Now, you've got a pretty interesting portfolio, and you've done Tiki Tāne?
Yes, I met him in Dunedin for the first time, and he's a very special client of mine, and that's not because he's a very talented musician, but definitely he's a guy who is very open-minded, and he is, in the Maori culture, he's quite knowledge and, educated. I would say knowledge, and so we can have a lot of talks, and he's open-minded to do a lot of contemporary Maori-based art, and I think that is what Kirituhi is about, having an open mind and creating and trying new things.
Have you met any resistance from the Tamoko culture with the Kirituhi?
Yes, in the beginning, when I came to New Zealand, I had a couple of occasions where there would be someone quite determined that it's not my place to do what I do. But I respected his opinion. I had my own opinion, and I believe that every culture and everyone has something to share and something to give to the other. So I think over the years we kind of learned this, and I haven't met any kind of bad or negative attitude from anyone.
Where do you see Kirituhi going for the future?
Well, I think it's going to be bright, and that's metaphorically as well, literally. Like, I think a lot of bright colors will be used, and maybe some different styles of art will be fused together with Kirituhi. And also the tattooing is coming and growing, and it's quite exciting. So I think, it's going to be quite interesting.
In the final part of our Moko and Kirituhi episode, we're catching up with activist, artist and celebrity tattoo collector Tiki Tāne to chat about all things moko.